Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Talk about North Carolina because I tweeted this out and I truly mean it. I thought Saturday was a statement game for Duke, national stage, etc. I thought Saturday was a statement game for North Carolina in the other direction. And that statement is, yeah, we're just not good enough. And not only are we not good enough, we're not even in the same class as our biggest rival and, frankly, most of the rest of the elite teams in college basketball, okay? And so, listen, we've done the North Carolina, Hubert Davis, his future, this, that. We don't need to relitigate it here. I mean, I think there are a few things that can be true in that conversation, and we've talked about it already, is that I do think that North Carolina wants to keep him. I don't think they're in a rush to do a coaching search. I do think that, listen, the positive is he did just win the ACC regular season last year. He's made the NCAA tournament 2 of 4 years. He made the Final Four in year one. But I think the counter to that is what is also true, is that basically for 3 of the 4 seasons, they were not good from start to finish. The year they made the Final Four, remember, that was a team that did not start out well, and it wasn't until February where they figured things out and made a run. And so if you're a North Carolina fan, listen, North Carolina, I always say, I'm not going to tell any fan base how to feel, not even, I'm a UConn alum. I'm not telling UConn fans how to feel. Like, stop, And so I only bring it up to very simply say is I'm not going to tell North Carolina fans that if you think Hubert Davis is the answer, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm not going to say, like, if you want Hubert Davis, to be brought back, like, it's your prerogative. Everyone should feel how they want. But what I do think is that North Carolina, they are a blue blood. They are a program that for pretty much the last 80 years has basically been awesome. Okay. And the one time they weren't awesome was under Matt Doherty, and they immediately moved off him. And I know it was a little bit of a different scenario. I know that, I think my understanding was he's a little tough to deal with behind the scenes. We actually had him on the pod at one point. He was actually very nice and gracious, but I only bring it up to say the one time that this happened, you moved off of him quickly. And so you look at Hubert Davis, this is who you are right now. Again, we've already talked about it. We don't need to reiterate it. But year one, you really struggled. Year two, until you made a run late. Year two, you missed the NCAA tournament as the number 1 seed. Year 3, you were great, but it's worth noting your 2 best players, RJ Davis and Armando Bacot, were recruited by the previous staff, were basically established stars when you got them. And then year 4, it's a total disaster. You're 13-10 right now. And I think what's both, a little bit of a not saving point for North Carolina, but at least you can say you're 13-10, having played literally the best teams in college basketball. They played Auburn. They played Alabama. They played Florida. I mean, we're talking about, I know Florida just lost on Saturday, but we are talking about, let's see here. They played Duke, Alabama, Florida, Michigan State. I think they played as well. Did they play Michigan State? They did. So they played Michigan State, who also lost on Saturday. They played, who else? Who's the other one I'm missing? I don't know. The point is, of the 10 teams in the top 10, they've already played 5 of the teams in the current top 10. Okay, so you can't say they haven't played anybody. But again, the issue is that in those games, they're not even close. They got destroyed by the Auburn Tigers in Maui. They got destroyed by Alabama at home with a rising star of a head coach in Nate Oates, who took over, by the way, a year before Hubert Davis? I mean, he's been to a Final Four. He's won the SEC twice. He's got a top 5 team that's good enough to win the national championship again this year. You got destroyed by Duke. And so, again, North Carolina can do what they want. I said it last week. I still think, Hubert Davis has a little bit of wiggle room. I don't think the administration wants to make a coaching change. You just fired Mac Brown. You probably paid him a little bit of buyout money. You're paying Bill Belichick a crap ton of money. You're putting money into NIL resources. I don't think they want to go through a coaching search. By the way, you do have Caleb Wilson, the 5-star committed. But I think the counter to that is are we going to keep going like this? Are we going to keep going where we really have not a lot of highs and a lot of lows? Are we going to keep going to a world where you can say what you want, but Duke is running away with the ACC right now? By the way, they did make the Elite Eight last year. They were very good last year. And, they listen, how about this? North Carolina won the ACC last year, and Duke went further than them in the tournament. But beyond that, I just think you're looking at who you're losing to. It's one thing if you're North Carolina too, and Duke's just potentially a great, great, great team. But think about the teams that they're losing to. Think about this streak that they're currently on. Lose at home to Stanford. Lose on the road to Wake Forest. Beat Boston College in overtime. Lose to Pitt, now lose to Duke. So that's 4 or 5 losses. Of those losses, Pitt's kind of a tournament-ish type team, but they're not great. I think they're probably on the wrong side of the bubble after Saturday when they lost to Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a fringe bubble team, whatever. One thing if you lose to Duke, but to me, this felt like rock bottom. And I do think that there are going to have to be some tough questions with Hubert Davis. Again, the gift and the curse of it is that the games left on your schedule are winnable. The problem is that they're not going to do much for you in the computer metrics. So again, you're sitting here at 13-10, 23 games into the season, 8 games left in the regular season. That means that even if you go 8-0, even if you go 8-0, you're 21-10. But again, how many of those wins really move the needle? I mean, if you went 8-0, you'd be fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this felt like rock bottom. I just don't think this is a very good team. And listen, the other thing too, and I know I'm rambling, so I'll cut this off really quick, is that the other thing too is that athletically, you weren't even in the same stratosphere as Duke. I mean, Duke has guards that are 6'5", 6'6". Your guards are 6'1", 5'11", 6 foot, whatever. And again, that's why I just didn't think that UNC even had a chance. Elliot Cadeau is tiny. Seth Trimble is undersized. Ian Jackson has nice size, but it's just like it was just a bad matchup from the beginning. And I think this has to be rock bottom for North Carolina. And I do believe behind the scenes, questions are being asked. And I think everybody, it's almost like Ryan Day is like an extreme example. But remember Ryan Day, they lose to Michigan. And the conversation we had on this show was Ohio State administrators have to be praying that they go on a run because I don't think they want to fire him. I think it's the same with Hubert Davis. But man, oh man, it is not pretty. By the way, our producer, Matt, who's now doubling as a researcher, says, fun fact, Auburn is 2-0 versus UNC all time. And Alabama has won the last 3 in that series. So to all the Alabama and Auburn fans, that's kind of a great metaphor. Listen, I think Auburn's actually a historically potentially great team. So there's that. But you get destroyed by Auburn. You've lost to Alabama now 3 times in the last couple of years, including in the NCAA tournament when you were favored last year. It's one thing for Duke to, have kind of surpassed you. It's one thing for, a down year, whatever. It's another thing when Alabama kind of has your number, when Auburn the last couple of years has had your number. So it ain't pretty. We'll see if it gets better. UNC, at least, as I said, a little bit of an advantageous schedule. They do have Pitt at home. And then at Clemson next week, that's going to be a quad 1 opportunity. You want to make the NCAA tournament, you got to take advantage.